And I wanted to come. So right now we are in the middle. We're in training, and our um, we're training the team on deal structures and what makes things a good deal. And I thought that this portion of it would be really good for people to know as they are thinking through and looking at deals and deal structures, especially for my realtors and real estate agents out there, and my wholesalers or investors that are structuring deals for investors. There are always some things that every investor needs to know, and you need to understand how to get them that information. And especially if you're an investor, you need to understand this as well. And that is the NOI, which is the net operating income, and your cap rate, okay, and which is the capitalization rate, which is the rate of return on your money on things. So if you were to put money and invest money in things, what is the rate of return that you're going to get it back on? Okay, so these are the things that we're going to go on today. And as you see here, we have been evaluating. So we have a 25 unit apartment complex that we are evaluating right now. We are looking at some of the soft numbers, and we're trying to determine what is this going to be a good deal for us. And we've went through a lot of different things already, and now we're about to go through the NOI and the cap rate to see what our cap rate is going to be. So I'm gonna walk through that right now, those numbers. And if you're on Instagram with me, hey guys, I have my phone flipped the other way today because I know you guys, when I write on the board, you never can see it because it's flipped on the other side. But I will not be able to see your questions right now. But if you, once I save this, make sure that you comment on this live. Don't DM me, but comment, because I want everybody to see it so I can answer your questions. But if you're on YouTube, I can see your questions here because I have the camera pulled towards me. All right, so let's get started. So guys, and I am talking to you, but you're going to be listening in the background because I actually have a whole team that's right here behind me, behind the camera that you can't see. So actually, I'm going to be taking their questions because this is actually their training that they have allowed me to record, but this is for them right now. All right, so NOI, guys. And so we talked about yesterday NOI, and we broke down some expenses that we needed to look at to determine what our NOI was and what our cap rate would be. So going back on that, first things first is we need to determine what our gross income would be. So what did we say was gross income? What was the after repair rent rate for that particular each unit that we can charge? What was the after we add value to the particular apartment complex? What would be the rents that we can collect on that one? Yeah, 1,800. 1,800. So it's going to be 1,800. So we came up with it's 45 a month. But how we came up with that was 1,800 times 12, because that's 12 months in a year, and then that number. What's that number? Just give me that number first. Okay. 1,800. I believe it was 45,000. No. It's after multiplied by 25. I think. Oh. 1,800 times 12. 21,600 is 18 times 12. 1,800 times 12. 1,800 times 12 is 2,100. 21,600. And then we're gonna times that by 25. That number is 45,000. Yes. Or no. It should be per year. Yeah, I was gonna say it's more than that. So that number when I times by 25 is 540. So gross income, this is gross income. All right, so gross income. So we took the after value rent rates, and we still think that this is kind of low, on the lower end, but we always do numbers conservatively, times 12, because it's 12 months in a year. We want to do it for the gross income for the year. And then we times it by the units. So this is the units. This is the year. Or you can make it by the month if you wanted to know what it was for the month. All right, so 18 times 12, 1,800 times 12 is 21,600 times the amount of units or the doors is 540,000 gross income per year for this particular unit. Now that only can happen if we're able to get 1,800 per door or more a year. All right, so that's gross income. Now, some people do it differently, this next line, but I like to add it into the into the gross income. And what's the other factor that we got to take into account? The vacancy rate, correct. So vacancy rate, I like to put my vacancy rate inside of the gross income. I like to just take it out because you always need to plan for vacancy. Now, some people go, anywhere between 5, 10, and even 20%. It really depends on the area of the market. But right now, rents are obviously we are at a deficit. People are looking for rentals. So we're gonna do it at 5%, and plus this particular apartment complex is in a pretty good area. Also, so we expect for it to always have a high occupancy rate. So when we do that, we do a 5% vacancy rate. So what we're going to do now is we're going to times the vacancy rate multiply the vacancy rate of the gross income to adjust the gross income so that we can take that piece of the gross income and we'll put it into reserves is what's going to happen. So what we do is we take 540 and we times it. So because it's 5%, we just do the opposite of it, which is 0.95. To get the total of what the gross income is. And what's that total, guys? 513. So that's the first piece of coming up with our NOI, okay? Is we need to know what the gross income, and you can call it the gross income adjusted, meaning that it was adjusted to already accommodate for the vacancy rate, all right? So when we have that, right? When we have that, we want to place that into our spreadsheet. So we have a little spreadsheet going, but you want to place that into your spreadsheet. So you have 513, that's the gross income. All right, and just to recount, your gross income is your rents times the term that you want to account for it for the year. And then you're going to times that by the number of doors that you're trying to get the income for. And then when you do that, the adjusted gross income, you're going to times that by the vacancy rate to get your final number. All right. So the next step is the expenses. So obviously we always have expenses that go along with the property. So those expenses are, now, you're never going to know the exact number, but when you're coming up with these numbers, we want to estimate numbers. And there's a lot of resources out there where we can estimate numbers for our expenses. So first, we want to always, if there ain't nothing else you're going to do, you're going to get taxed and die, okay? For sure. So we're going to count for property taxes. And then because all you're going to do ever is get taxed and die, you always want to have insurance just to cover those taxes and your death benefit. All right, and then the next is going to be maintenance. So even after you add some value to the property, you're still going to have to do routine maintenance on the grounds. People are going to have things break down. You're going to have to hire people. You're going to have to keep things up to code. So you're going to have to account for maintenance each year that you're going to allocate to get things done. All right, so you have maintenance and then utilities. Most of us have lived or rented in a place before, and we have certain utilities that we have to have, such as obviously power, even power if you have common areas in this particular apartment complex. You're going to have power, water, which a lot of times is grouped together. And then nowadays, you almost would need to lump in Wi-Fi. Even if it's not available to all of your residents, your on-site staff or some of your staff or some people that are on the property may have to have Wi-Fi, trash, lawn care. I put lawn care in the utilities simply because it is something that you will have to do every time unless for some reason you're in a concrete break. But even if it's that, grounds maintenance, All right. Somebody that picks up trash, not just the trash that's disposed of, but someone that can pick up trash. So you have lawn care, and then you have cable if you're gonna package that as well. So with all of this, you can what we call a bottom up approach it. Bottom up for me is when you have micro data. So when you have micro data, that means that you're taking and you're getting quotes from each of these services, and you're using that data to determine what the average cost would be. Or you can bottom down it. Top down it. When you top down it, you're using macro data. And when you use macro data, you're just using a percentage that you're going to set aside each time to allocate for utilities. When we're doing big projects like this, and until we get rent rolls from each seller that's transferring your data, you get rent rolls, if you're getting all the income statements and balance sheets, until you get hard facts of what they were already paying for it, you can use a top-down approach and get a generalization, and you do that by a percentage of it. So I use 25% of gross income. Now, if it only takes 20%, great. You have more income that you can deal with. If it takes a little more, you just adjust it up. But I use 25% of gross income. Can someone tell me what 25% of gross income is? And that's 25% of the 540. Okay. So once we invert it, so that's once we invert it to the 75%. Oh yeah, no, sorry, I'm doing it wrong. 135, what? It was 135 with that percentage, and then 135. Okay, so 135 is what we're going to allocate for maintenance. Okay. I'm sorry, for utilities. Remember that one? I skipped past that, didn't I? All right. I was talking about utilities and then I was saying it for maintenance, but 25% for maintenance. All right. So, all right. Let me just check up my Instagram people. Are y'all still here? Some people still here. All right. All right. So top down, bottom, or micro data. All right. So I'm gonna erase that just to clear up a little bit. All right. And then our utilities. So we already did these numbers, and I don't want to change it because we went into details yesterday. But what did we have for taxes yesterday when we did it? $52,500 for taxes. All right, and that's a year, and that's estimated. And we estimated based on the property, on the after repair property value. We actually bumped it up a little bit. So we based taxes. I don't know if everybody can see that. We based taxes on the $7 million property value. Now, the thing why you can only do estimates because you never know what a municipality would change within their governments. They can change the property rates. They can change how they value property. You never know until you get it, but the only thing you can do is estimate it. A good place to go to start to get that calculator is smartasset.com. It actually has the current property rate there, so that you can use that and you can adjust it to see what your estimated taxes will be on that particular property. So we have $52,500 On insurance, what do we estimate insurance for now? This is a particular area that we have to have regular insurance, but we also have to have flood insurance as well. So what do we estimate for that particular property?
Property insurance was $63,575, and the flood insurance,
Okay.
insurance was $55,000.
Okay, flood insurance we estimated to be $55,000. So they came to a grand total of
$118,575.
All right, and I say that this is a number because I'm also looking at another property that is in the New Orleans area, and it's a smaller property, but it was in the 90s for insurance with regular insurance and hazardous insurance. So insurance is high per year out there. So that is a good estimate. We feel good about that one. All right, so we have our insurance. We have our regular insurance plus our hazardous insurance estimate to be $118,575. We have our tax estimate to be $52,500. Our maintenance is 25% of gross income, and then our utilities. What do we have as our utilities?
As utilities, we had $135,000.
130. What do we have for maintenance?
For maintenance, I have maintenance 93% rent, which was $54,000.
Okay, maintenance was 10%, and then utilities 25%. Give me that. I'm sorry. Give me that number again.
That number for maintenance is $54,000.
54. All right. And just know on maintenance, your maintenance costs will go up each year. You should allocate more to maintenance. Now, this one will be a full gut, and so the first 2 to 3 years, you're not going to have as much maintenance, but you want to allocate, you probably want to add another 2% of maintenance each year on properties, because you're going to, as the property gets older and more people are in it, you're going to have more things that go wrong, especially when you have HVACs go out and different things like that. You're going to have to increase your maintenance costs. All right, am I forgetting anything? We got taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities. That was it, right? All right. So once we add all of this up, right? Once we add all of this up, what that does is it gives us a summation. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's it.
No,
no, 360,000.
75. Okay. You said that, and I just wrote it wrong. All right. So 300, that's the total expenses. All right. So our NOE, what we do is we take our gross income and we do the adjusted gross. And it gives us what?
That gives us $152,925.
All right. So once you take your gross adjusted income, I should write that. Take your gross adjusted income and your total expenses. You subtract that. This is your net operating, what you call it, NOE, not net operating expenses. Okay? Net operating expenses. All right? You're going to take that number, you're going to jot it down. All right, everybody following? All right. So once we have that, we've got our expenses, we've got our income. Now, this particular property, we're going to finance it. We're going to finance it. So we have to calculate our debt towards the property, which is our loan payments. All right. So our debt. So we've already went through our debt calculations and our estimates based on interest rates, based on terms and any kind of carrying costs. And we've already determined that for the year, our total payments will be $293,117. That's per year for this particular building. Let me check the comments. I'm gonna do a slight check. Make sure everybody's following me. Everybody follow. Drop following if you are following. Let's see here. Any comments? I'm gonna walk around really quick. All right. Is this something going over this? All right, so once we have that, once we have our loan payments, next thing we want to do is we determine what our NOI is. All right, so now we're going to determine our net. I'm sorry. All right, our net operating income. All right, net operating income. Our net operating income is your gross adjusted income minus your net operating income which equals 360.75. All right, that's your NOI. All right, so once you have your adjusted gross income, your NOE, let me just write this over here, NOE, gross, all right, you get your NOI. All right, once you have your NOI, now we're going to look at cash flow. Why are we going to look at cash flow? Because we need to determine a cap rate. We talked about cap rate is the rate of return on our money invested. This market is kind of different. Normally, cap rates, a healthy cap rate used to be anywhere between 8 to 10%. Anything above that was gravy. Anything below that means that your money wasn't working as hard as you would want it to. All right, it's kind of like if you have a CD, when you put in 10,000 and you only make 25 cents back off of it. You know, you want your capitalization rate to work really great for you and the money that you invest into that particular investment. So on this one, we had a cash flow. Let's go ahead and put this. How do we determine cash flow? We determine cash flow by taking our NOI, which is all of the total from our expenses, right? Our NOI, which means the gross income minus our expenses is our NOI, which is 360, right? And then we have to take into account our debt on the property because we're going to make those loan payments each year. So we got to know that after everything is paid off, everything is done, what are we actually making on the property each year? So we minus the debt, which is $293,117 for the year. So this is NOI, this is debt. Once we do that, we know what our cash flow is. So on this property, we'll cash flow $97,194 per year. Estimated. Say estimated because a lot of our expenses are estimated, but we try to go conservatively because again, anything that is less just means that we're cash flow more. All right. To break that down, you got a question? Somebody got a question? Okay. Break that down is when you take that, you can just divide it by 12, and you get the cash flow monthly of being $8,100 per month. Is what this particular unit would cash flow per month, right? Now, how do we get the cap rate? So we know what we're cash flowing. What does that mean as far as a cap rate? How good is our money working for us, right? So what we do is we value this property, even though we use $7 million for the property taxes, we've actually valued this property. I'll write it over here. We've actually valued this property valuation, all right, of $6,250,000 is our valuation, right? And then we have where are we at? And then we have to look at our NOI, which is the income that it's going to bring in, of $360.75. Okay. So to get the cap rate, we take the income and we divide it by the value of the property. And when we do that, we get 5.76%. So is it in that 8 to 10? No, it's not. But one thing that we know about this particular deal is we've already looked at the appreciation. It's going to continue to appreciate, so the value will go up. It's going to need a lot of value add. So once we do the value add, we're estimating this to be worth 6.2. But once we have appreciation and we do value add, it may be worth more, right? So that's why we use the $7 million as taxes. So if it's worth more, and our income, we have the ability to even charge more income, but our income could go up. We can easily get it up into the 5.6, but still, this is okay, especially for this market. It's okay, right? Because cost of living is high right now, but it costs even more to keep things up to date. So when you're talking to your investors, and even when we talk to our investors, we have to know these things. We have to know what is the NOI, what is the net operating income of that particular deal, right? Then we need to understand what the cash flow is. What are they going to be making per year on the deal? And then we have to understand what is the cap rate. How hard is their money going to be working if they're investing money into this particular deal? So that is an understanding of NOI, cash flow, and cap rate. All right. Now, again, you're actually in the middle of a training session that we have for our company. So I'm not taking a lot of comments right now, but make sure that you comment below if you have questions, and I will for sure answer you later. But I just wanted to go through this so people will understand what NOI, cap rates, and cash flow mean. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna log off for now. That was almost perfect. That was like 30 minutes on the dot. I did good. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.